This place looks photoshopped. It's not. It is the hottest inhabited place on Earth. People live here, and they've lived here for generations, in a desert that has literally never once recorded rain. Look at the colors: acid yellow, blood orange, sulfur white. It looks like a painting someone made up, but every frame is real, and every frame is deadly. Somewhere between Ethiopia and the Red Sea, the ground splits open and drops, 125 meters below sea level. This is the Danakil Depression, part of the East African Rift, where two continents are slowly, violently tearing themselves apart. The African plate, the Arabian plate, pulling away from each other like a wound that never closes. The plates are moving about a centimeter a year, which doesn't sound like much, until you're standing on the crack and the earth is exhaling sulfur straight into your lungs. This is not a desert in the way most people imagine deserts. There are no soft dunes, no gentle sunsets. This is a desert made of salt, acid, and fire. A place where the ground itself can burn you, where the air tastes like metal, where a wrong step into the wrong pool ends a life in seconds. Scientists call this place a window into early Earth, because the chemistry here, the brine, the acid, the steam, looks like what our planet looked like before life ever found a way, before oceans, before forests, before us. And yet, life found a way. The Afar people have mined salt here for 1,000 years, not with machines, not with trucks, with a hammer, a chisel, and their own backs. They wake before dawn, when the heat is only punishing instead of impossible. They walk onto the salt flats barefoot or in thin sandals. The ground is white, blinding, cracked into geometric plates that stretch to the horizon. They cut the salt into slabs, perfect rectangles, one after another. They load it onto camels, 100, 200 camels in a single caravan, and they walk it out across the desert for days to sell it in the markets of the highlands. In 49-degree heat, in a place with no water, no shade, and no mercy. A single caravan can carry tons of salt. The journey takes days, sometimes a week. Men sleep on the salt at night. They ration water like gold. And when they reach the highland markets, the salt becomes food, money, survival for another season. Why would anyone do this? Because salt, before refrigeration, before machines, before this entire modern world, salt was currency. It was life. Empires rose on it, armies marched for it. And in this one corner of Africa, that ancient world is still alive. You can stand in it. You can watch a man lift a slab of white earth and put it on a camel's back the same way his great-grandfather did. But the heat is not a backdrop here. It is a character. Average air temperature in the Danakil can sit near 34 to 37 degrees Celsius year-round. That is the average. The peaks go much higher. In the sun, on the salt, with no wind, the body starts to fail. Sweat stops helping. The mind slows. Every step costs more than the last. In 2020, the ground itself recorded a temperature of 80.8 degrees Celsius, 177 degrees Fahrenheit, the highest ground temperature ever measured on this planet. You can fry an egg on the rock, and the rock isn't even trying. Stand still too long, and the heat crawls into your shoes, your lungs, your thoughts. Tourists who come here travel with armed escorts, liters of water, and guides who know which ground is safe. Even then, people collapse. The Danakil does not care who you are. And yet, under this white crust, there is an entire ocean, a massive aquifer of salt water trapped since the Red Sea retreated, heated by volcanic chambers saturating the ground. When it evaporates, it leaves behind salt, and the salt builds, and the crust grows, and the land literally crystallizes under your feet. Every year the surface changes. New crystals, new colors, new thin skins of white over black mud. The Danakil is not a finished landscape. It is a landscape still being written by heat and chemistry. 60 kilometers away, the earth is on fire. Erta Ale. In the local language, the smoking mountain. One of only a handful of places on Earth with a permanent open lava lake. Not a volcano that erupts and quiets. A lake of molten rock, churning always, night and day. From the rim at night, the glow is wrong. Too orange, too alive. You hear it before you fully see it. A low roar, like a furnace the size of a city. The surface of the lake crusts over, cracks and swallows itself. Over and over. For more than a century, people have camped on its rim. Scientists, adventurers, locals. You can stand there in the dark and watch the planet's blood glow. The Afar don't fear it the way outsiders do. They've lived beside it for so long, the volcano is just their neighbor. Dangerous, respected, present. But the volcano doesn't just sit at the surface, it's the reason everything else here exists. The heat under the ground, the vents, the acid. The strange chemistry that turns a corner of Ethiopia into another world. And then there's Dallol, the most surreal place on the planet. Hydrothermal acid pools, water so acidic it can dissolve skin. Colors that don't exist in nature, or shouldn't. Lime green, blood red, sulfur yellow, turquoise so bright it hurts. This is the closest thing to another planet you can reach on foot. The pools bubble, the ground hisses, steam rises in thin white threads. Walk carefully, some crusts are thick, some are a lie, a thin skin over boiling poison. Dallol is beautiful the way a venomous snake is beautiful. You look, you do not touch. NASA has studied places like this to understand what life might look like on Mars. Because if chemistry this hostile can still hold secrets, then other planets might too. Danakil becomes a laboratory, a warning, a clue. And here's the quiet miracle. Even here, even in the acid, there is life. Microbes discovered in these pools that thrive in conditions that should be impossible. Heat, salt, acid. Biologists call them extremophiles. The rest of us can just call them stubborn. Life, it turns out, does not ask for comfort. It asks for a chance. So, let's come back to the question. Why would anyone live in the hottest, most hostile place on Earth? Not for money alone, though the salt does feed families. Not for comfort, there is none. The Afar live here because this is home. Because their ancestors are buried here. Because the desert, brutal as it is theirs. Children grow up knowing the routes across the flats. Men learn the weight of a salt slab before they learn the weight of a modern job. Women hold families together in villages that sit at the edge of a land most of the world will only ever see in photographs. We call it the most inhospitable place on Earth. They call it home. That difference is the whole story. Maybe the real story of Danakil isn't about how the Earth is extreme. It's about how adaptable people are. That in the place where the planet is most trying to kill you, you will still find a man with a chisel, cutting salt, walking camels, raising children, living a life. You will still find names for mountains, routes across salt, songs for the road. A culture that did not wait for the world to become gentle before it decided to stay. The Danakil Depression is a window into early Earth, and it's a mirror held up to us. Because if people can live here, thrive here, call it home, then there is no place on this planet that is truly unlivable. Only places that test us more. Heat, isolation, acid, fire, and still a caravan moving at dawn. Still a chisel in a human hand. Still a home. That is edge of Earth. Places almost impossible to live in. We go there anyway. If you want to see more places on Earth that feel like they belong on another planet, hit subscribe. The next one, a place so remote its people live without roads, without power, cut off from the world for months at a time. We will go there too.